Hello everyone, my name is Jinx Gaming, but of course you already know that, and if you don't know that then you're new to the channel. Hello, my name is Jinx Gaming, welcome. Now today, as you can see, I think it's been like a week since I last did one of these, but it's a Speke episode. Now unfortunately, well, you'll also see it's a Speke episode and also a grind in the Rocket Pass, pretty much, because I also haven't done a Rocket League video in a few days, and I didn't want to do a competitive threes because if you've seen in some of my other videos, I dropped like Diamond 2. I've had lots of different stuff going on. I haven't been really committed to it. I've had terrible teammates, people like dragging me down and stuff like that, but that's not important. So sort of as an excuse, one, to get a Rocket League video out, and two, to try and grind my way back to like a decent rank again. I thought I'd do a Speaks episode and also do like a call it grinding the Rocket Pass as well. So yeah, to be honest, this is all, as you say, look, Division 3. I was Division 4 until I lost 2 games in a row because there was some annoyance going on. Pretty much today as bad as it sounds, I was actually like low Division 2 at the start of the day, I'm pretty sure. And then I teamed up with 2 people, started playing really well, got to Division 4, and then like I had a bit of an annoyance, something annoying around me happened, and that sort of ended up putting me off and losing 2 games in a row, which then made the team disband, if you will, and said that they had to go and different stuff like that. And so I was just sort of left. I was like, oh great, after 2 games, everyone just sort of leave. Crates, and there's some cool names to have as a PlayStation name. Looking to get that. Well, the Ryan Wreck, I don't even know what that means, but it's still just cool to have like a name that's just nice and simple. No, like, I don't know. But in this week's episode, you'll know from the title, but I'm not even sure myself what to talk about yet. I'm just trying to think of something, and then we can get into it and talk about it. Basically, what we can talk about as the first thing, which this is one thing I did have in mind to talk about as well. This was like the only topic, so I'm hoping other topics will spiral off this one. Oh, he backflipped. That was sort of my bad. I definitely shouldn't have been where I was and do what I do, but ultimately it was him that led it in, I suppose. His name is Bad Gaming. So yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about, I'm using the new Maverick, by the way. If you didn't know, there was like a huge like Rocket Pass update and stuff. I don't know if I already covered that in other videos. It's been a while. You know, I played FIFA the last 2 days. Before that I did 3 days in a row. You know, so I've not played like a grinding sort of game or like a Fortnite or a Rocket League properly in like the last few days. Well, last week, especially Fortnite. So yeah. But the first thing I want to talk about, it's a little bit more sort of carrying on from the last episode, which was sort of like a mental health sort of edition sort of thing, which a lot of you like really enjoyed. They said it was like probably their favourite Speaks episode so far, and I enjoyed making it and talking about it. Something that, you know, was actually decent that I could keep talking about. And obviously, in the other day, in my most recent competitive threes video, if you watched the face cam edition, if you actually watch the ending to that, I think it is anyway, if you watch like the outro to that, it almost goes on longer than some of my Speaks videos, because it shows truly like why I wanted to make the Speak episode, because I just, when I talk about something, I can ramble and I can just talk about something, and that was like my idea of the Speaks. But obviously, since I've been doing the Speaks, keep saying that, it's really difficult. Since I've been doing this series, because I'm like not doing what I'm used to, I suppose. That's terrible. I should have done something else. because like I'm sort of like, right, I've got to think of something. I did say this in another video, by the way, but because like I'm always on my mind, I've got to have something to say, I've got to have topics, whereas the video is just inept, it's just boring or whatever. So because of that, I'm almost forcing myself to talk about something, whereas when it flows freely is when sort of like how I envisioned it. That bump, man. To be honest, I'm not really caring about wins and losses and stuff like that. I'm just sort of literally trying to grind that game and try to stick with it to try and get up in the rocket pass, because you're meant to put like 100 hours in there. I don't think I'm on course for that yet, especially having a few days off. Definitely not. So I'm a bit rusty, I suppose, as well. Yeah, so so like I said, that mental health was really good, because it was almost like it was the first video where I felt sort of free to sort of like talk, and sort of I did like my rambling that I'm used to or whatever. So, you know, and like I said in that, I was going to touch on some stuff more and doing my own separate videos, and I was going to, and I am going to, I still think. Before I go into the first topic though, which you'll be able to see from the title, the first one in the title, actually this may be in the title as well, you'll all have to see. Like I said, I don't know these things, sometimes I just record, I just go with the flow sort of stuff, so it's difficult sometimes. But I'm thinking on a new series. This is trash. I'm thinking of a new series. I forgot I shouldn't have done that. And I'm literally just going to call it Rant, like Rant episode 1, Rant episode 2, sort of like that. And it's where I just, a bit like a Speke Speaks, but I'm going to make it sort of like an 18 sort of plus version, almost. Well, not 18 plus, because I'm not myself, but there's going to be a bit more profanity in the videos. What is going on with that? Hello? There's going to be a little bit more profanity in my videos, I'd say. Because it's going to be literally, I'm going to have one topic that really does my head in, or really grinds my gears almost, Family Guy reference, and yeah, I'm just going to talk about something that I'm really getting on my nerves recently, or something like that. And it's going to be like on my phone, sort of, maybe a bit of like hopefully like a story time-ish sort of edit, where sort of a little bit in the cuts, a bit jumpy, and me just sort of ranting on different things. The idea for number 1 that I had, the first episode I had, was essentially I have there are these new things that my family has introduced to me, that I have to use. They're like these, I don't know what to call them, they feel like breast implants, I'm not gonna lie, and they sort of low-key look like them, and you're meant to put them over like where there's like a lot of pressure, or like creases in your skin when you sleep especially, but like, and I've only had them for 2 days and I absolutely hate them. Like, I don't see them, and like there's the whole like I've asked like why I use them and stuff like that, and everyone just keeps saying the same thing. Prevention is better than a cure. But if you want me to do the video, I'll talk about it a little bit more, and just how annoying that word is to me now after hearing it non-stop for the last 2 days, the word prevention, because the amount of times I've said, oh, I don't understand the purpose of these, and they've just gone, it's all for prevention. You know, I could talk about it now with like a speaks, but nah, I wouldn't give it the credit it deserves. It's not, you know, this isn't really one where this isn't really where we let our anger, because if I end up talking about it for ages, I'll probably get angry. So yeah, it's these stupid little things that is recommended to have on to stop from just different like sores or different stuff like that, and for like a prevention. But I hate them. I do. I don't want to say too much because I want to leave it for like I say, another separate video if you like the idea of it. If not, then I can just talk about them in the next Speaks video anyway, and just sort of say what they're about and why I disagree with them and stuff like that. So as you can, actually I may put that in the title, new series maybe. But no, the first thing is something called Camhs. Now, you may have heard of it if you're from this country, but you also may not. I don't know why I said that, because even if you're from this country, it's very possible. But if you're from this country, there's a much more higher chance that you'll have heard of Camhs. And basically, if you don't know what Camhs is, I won't do it justice here, but I recommend googling it. Just look at the titles. It's about CAMHS, I'm pretty sure. The silent H noise. And like I said, it's just sort of leading on from my mental health that I was talking about last time. This Camhs thing. And basically what it is, you can Google it, like I said, it's pretty much almost like a therapy place, if you will. They do other stuff there, so like I said, I'm not like an expert, I'm not the best one to ask like the proper definition, and I won't give it the gratitude it deserves, but in my case I can at least say it's for like a therapy sort of thing, like I don't know if counselling is the right word. I would say therapy is more fitting word. You're not happy, to be fair. I think I got bumped and didn't have any boost. Yeah, so it's like this counselling thing that I'm going to now every other Friday, so every like 2 weeks, every fortnight on a Friday. Fortnight Friday. Anyway, so yeah, and it's like I said, it's literally where I'll just, oh, he is not happy. Like I said, it's where now I've only recently been going. I went like a few years back, because when as you know, as I said in my other videos, in my other mental health video about the different mental health stuff I've got, I went a few years back to have sort of therapy and stuff like that, because my mental health, like all my problems that I've got increased just before I was meant to go to high school, pretty much. And so I wasn't trying to steal his goal. I was going to try and get over him and bump the keeper, but then when I was there, I thought I might as well be there just in case there's a rebound or something. I wasn't quite sure. Gosh. Okay. He's not very happy. Yeah, so that's interesting. I try, you know. I will admit, I have to, if you played with me or whatever, or you know me, like, yeah, when it comes to Rocket League chat, I'm not the greatest, but I'm trying to work on it myself. Try not to start getting involved in stupid little nonsense like arguments and stuff like that, stuff that I don't need to be involved in. That's actually a really nice goal. Obviously these two have got it in for each other. So yeah, well then, yeah, see, when it gets like far like this, I'm like, really, isn't it? Like, I'll call people like useless and stuff like that and tell them different things, but like, I wouldn't, like, in situations like this, like if we were getting absolutely smacked and it was all because of one person, like, get missing everybody. Then no, I wouldn't. I'm just going to tell them just play. Actually, I'm not going to trigger. Sorry about this change. Great. You know what putter means. Pick yourself. You must have been focused on the game. That's in. Yeah, I knew that'd happen. Okay then. My goodness me. Orange, please help. Please. So, sorry. It does remind me though at the start of every video. I see it's annoying because stuff like this is good. It's going to make me, like, in the future turn off mute my teammates. But then it's annoying because the people that aren't like this then never get to have like proper comms or whatever if they're like legit good. You know what I mean? Like if somebody like legit wants to make comms and isn't gonna be irritating and, you know, ruin the mood, which there's a few people like that. Okay, Jesus Christ. You said take the shot. So yeah, sorry. So about Camhs. Effectively, I went a few years ago when I was about to go up to high school because a lot of like my emotions and different stuff like that were getting, you know, getting much more anxious because I was nervous and different stuff like that. So I ended up going to Camhs, and back then, well not back then, but then at that time it was a hospital, the hospital close by. And like I said, when I went up to high school, I didn't really then need it after that. But obviously recently, which I don't know whether I don't know whether to address it in this video or make it as a video as a whole what happened. I feel like I should have maybe done a video about what I'm going to talk about next before, and then talk about this so we can address it, but I don't know whether. So essentially, right, if you remember my last video, I told you I was in an event of some kind, right? That's what we'll call it. I was in an event, and like I said, after this event I ended up getting worse. You know, I had all these different problems which I've reeled off last time and said different stuff like that, because of this event happening. Like I said, this event, I will, for people that don't know me, most people that are going to see this are going to instantly know anyway what I mean, so that's why I don't know if it's any point even saying it, pretty much doing a whole video about it, because most people are going to know anyway. And the reason I'm not saying it now because I'll end up going on a tangent and talking about that, which this isn't what this is about, so that's why I'm not. Why is he in that car? He said, didn't he say, okay, I need to pay attention to stuff like that. So after this event, ended up getting worse, as we said again, and ended up getting like counselling, like art therapy it's called, where like you do art and sort of, and you get like this art counsellor person, and he sort of like does art as a way to calm down while also like talking about different stuff and issues and asking you how things are while doing art, because it's like a better way of, I don't know the full psychology behind it. So I did that, you know, and after this happened, he made sure like he came out, and a few sessions we didn't do art, we just literally spoke about what had happened and different stuff like that. Sorry, I want to turn that off. So yeah, and that ended up helping out a lot, and then, you know, a year goes by, a year and a half now goes by, and not get any better, and I just think, you know what, it's time to sort of like try and do something about it, because me trying to wrap my head around it, you know, I need professionals to help me in the process. I'm trying to wrap my head around different stuff, so that's when I reached out to Camhs again. And then, yeah, usually if you know anything about Camhs, there's like a massive waiting list, like sometimes 2 years at one point. I mean, even this year there's some people that have applied earlier than me this year and are on like a waiting list of say like a year or a year and a half or something. Now, if I tell you now, I've already been for 4 weeks. I've already been twice, obviously, both fortnights. So I've been going since a month ago, and I only signed up like 2 or 3 months ago and started getting in talks of going again. So, you know, it's not took that long at all for me, which, you know, say what you will, privilege or severity comes into play. I don't know how they work it. Just luck, maybe because they do other services that just sort of what I needed was just available at the time. So yeah, I've been going to Camhs, and like I said, they I went there, you tell them like a lot about yourself or whatever, they think if it's suitable or not for you to have regular sessions. They said it was suitable. When I went, there was like 2 females. There was like somebody who usually does all the we'll call it an interview for now, just because I don't know the correct word, so we'll call it that. And she was joined with like another therapist slash physiologist, I don't know what you call them, and she was only there just to sort of like, I don't know if work experience isn't the, I had that covered, mate, but I don't know if I'd say work experience is the right word. But she was there sort of like watching over things and how stuff was done, and she was there like, I think because she was wanting to be like a main person at this site, because this wasn't at the hospital close by. This time this was at like a proper facility that they have like purposely for Camhs, and so I think she wanted to be like one of the main, this other nurse wanted to be the main sort of like person there, so she was listening in and taking notes from like this other girl and listening to my story and different things like that. And then I go in like my first session a week times, and I've got this therapist, the one that was there in the background before, you know, and she's really, really nice. And like I say, she wanted me to just once again go through some things the first time and different stuff like that. And then I went again yesterday, Friday just gone, and you know, this time it was more her telling me how like the brain works. So this is what they all do basically. They can do numbers of different ways to suit you, and they're so, to be fair, like when I was younger, I used to think it was so, therapists and different stuff like that was so stupid. You just listen to people's problems, they talk it down, but do they really do anything, or is it more just for the people to just say what they want to just a random stranger or someone that they've just met that they know is professional or whatever, that's got a job title? And that guy scored 2 own goals now in this game. Fair dues that both of them probably I haven't really helped out in. Yeah, it's alright. Like I said, I'm not really bothered about the game as such. But it just means that to get a competitive another threes video out, it's going to be a little bit longer than we thought. But also, I do want to bring out a competitive Rumble game mode series, sorry, instead, because if you don't know, Rumble is getting its own game mode in competitive, so I like Rumble. It's a bit more jokes and a bit more bant, so I sort of want to do that. Anyway, going back to this Camhs thing, so yeah, like I say, when I was younger, I always used to think, you know, it's literally just you listen to someone, but they're called therapists because it makes other people a lot easier to think, okay, they're professional, sort of like, or whatever, like it's okay for me to hear so many problems, it makes me feel normal and stuff. But like growing up, now I've gone myself and I've looked more into it, they're so like smart, it's actually insane. And I sort of low-key wish that like if I'd have been able to take 4 subjects at A level, I think I would have chose psychology as another one. Please save that. Okay, I'm sorry, I know that I don't care about the game, but that guy, that one not as much as his fault, even though it's probably the easiest one to save. That's technically 3 own goals from that geezer. No wonder he's got 20 points. So, please. Oh, damn it. I'm not going to be able to get that, man. Especially if he fakes me out. I was going to type GG, but I remembered. I can go up. There we go. Whoa, next level up. But yeah, I wish I would have chose psychology, low key. Now, if I could have had another one, I'm happy with the choices I've got. Don't get me wrong, but if I could choose another one, the Crypto, Dragon Wings, a very rare topper, Plat 2, and unranked. I mean, yeah, well, to be fair. So yeah, I wish I would have chose psychology because it's now so fascinating. And like I said, in this on Friday, she more sort of spoke to me and sort of said how you know, how the sort of the brain works, and she was going things called old brain and new brain. I won't talk about it because it's a bit complicated. I don't truly know myself. And also, I'm sure there'd be things that I'd miss, and I wouldn't do it justice. So, basically, just as a simple premise, though, I'll say, basically, old brain and new brain is apparently what studies have shown. You just have these two parts of your brain as well. So, yeah, in the old brain, you have something called reptile, I think, and it basically all it is. There's different brains that tell you different emotions, and when you go through a certain event or act a certain way, different emotions will favour over the other and different stuff like that, and you can't help that. And you have different sort of levels. So you have 3 levels. You've got threat levels, drive levels, and soothing levels. They're all quite self-explanatory. So threat level is like stuff that sort of dangers you, or some stuff that you're scared from. Drive level is stuff that motivates you, and soothing level is stuff that makes you calm, pretty much. And so for example, if you've gone through like a traumatic event, or you've got anxiety and stress and different stuff like that, you'll have a higher threat level. And as I was talking about things, she was drawing these different circles to represent, and like I say, my threat level was like the biggest sort of chunk that it took up out my brain, and then it was the drive level, and then it was the soothing level. So and just her explanation on different things that she was telling me, it was just so fascinating, because you could just tell that she knew what she was talking about. If she was a professional. And I'm going, like, again, not next Friday, but the Friday after, in a fortnight. Like, just very quickly, should I open this one? So, you know, it was literally nothing but respect. Like, honestly, it is so cool. Like I say, I'm still going, like I say, and it has helped. You know, next time she said we're going to do like a timeline of your life to find out not only like from this event that I went through, but also other things that went in my life that has led me to sort of act the way I do, and why certain things are. I think that the Dissolve on the Maverick is really nice. So yeah, that is that Camhs stuff. I'm just trying to think what I want to use my Decryptor on. I think I'm just going to use it on the Zephyr, to be honest. The Zephyr quote. What we're going to get? Give me something decent, please. It's not going to, is it? Just give me the Cyclone. I think the Cyclone is a really sick car. Don't give me something that I'm probably not going to use. I mean, if I ever use the brake, yeah, because I've got. No, I'm not going to use that. I was trying to think if I would use it, but no, I wouldn't, because it's a goalkeeper as well. I've got my breakout car, and it's my Froggy, because it's memes. So yeah, that's pretty much like almost like an update on my mental health state, and if any of you are that interested to hear that much in detail. So I really do recommend it. Anyone that's watching this, anyone that knows this, I mean, even with people like with dyslexia, I think that they just help and go talking about like how their brain works and different stuff like that. Like, it isn't just people that are stressed or anxious, or someone that has gone through something traumatic or anything like that, it is, you know, it's much more about that. It's a lot to do with neurological science and different stuff like that, to what I believe. Most just neurological problems, I'm pretty sure. You know, and what they said to me was, basically, not yesterday, but when I first went to this therapist, this new one that I've got like 2 weeks ago, this will be the final game, I'm pretty sure, by the way. When I went to her, she towards the end, she told me something absolutely great, and it sort of helped. Sorry about that. There's a distraction, and also I forgot to change out the breakout. But yeah, she said something towards the end that really sort of helped. To sort of almost like, because if you saw my last video, even though I'd already been to one of these counselling sessions once, it hadn't all like properly sunk in and different stuff like that, and you know, other different stuff, and I completely forgot about it, to be honest, as bad as that sounds. I know I'm like bigging it up, but I didn't know like how much detail I was going to go in when I started talking about the mental health side of things. But now, like, I've heard like the response and like how so many people like enjoyed it, like I'm sort of like almost honoured to be sort of a person that would, I'd be completely open maybe to talk about it somewhere where almost like an influence. I know that's very weird to come from, especially from someone just as a small channel like me, where the only people I follow is only people that I pretty much know, bar a few people. But yeah, she said something to me because she was talking to me about like ever had flashbacks to this event or whatever, and also ever had like, because like I have PTSD is what it's called, post-traumatic stress, and trauma and different stuff like that. And she said pretty much the brain is almost like a filing cabinet, or like a massive room full of filing cabinets. If you've ever used, it made me laugh sort of at the time, because if you've ever seen that episode of SpongeBob, where I can't remember what happens in it. Something happens to SpongeBob, and he what is it now? I'm forgetting. SpongeBob is like my favourite show of all time. But SpongeBob has to act a certain way, or something happens to his brain or something, and pretty much he gets told to do something and his brain just breaks, and you see from like inside, you see like, well, first of all you see like SpongeBob completely freeze and stop talking and have like a sort of a still image on his face, and then it like cuts to his brain and there's loads of little mini SpongeBobs in his brain, sort of like with these filing cabinets, and they're like trying to find like the answer to something. And now I think about it, it's exactly, I don't know if that's sort of like a hidden thing that maybe people didn't realise, or whether it was just me being stupid and I never realised that when I first watched. But I'm guessing people like therapists, maybe if they ever saw that, thought, oh, I know what's going on here, sort of thing. So essentially in the episode, SpongeBob is like, he's searching for like the right files to get him the right answer, and she said that's what it's like. Basically your brain is a room and there's lots of different like filing cabinets in there, and that are like different subgenres. For example, when you have a memory, you'll have that memory, and your brain will like find like a correct category to put it into. So for example, you know, something that happens at school, something maybe even about like a you know, something that happened at school once, or even just sort of like a routine that you do at school, like, oh, at this time I go and get lunch. Your brain will put that like in the school category. But when you go through stress, because or a traumatic event, because your brain has never it's the same with like war veterans and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure, even though theirs is a little bit different. if you take that away from me, that was going to be so cool for me. I know, hyped up over nothing. But yeah, so when you go through a traumatic event or something stressful, because you've never had to go through like this before, your brain doesn't know what category to put it in. It doesn't want to like put it in like a traumatic event category, because that's too sort of like, that's too detailed of a category. It needs something wider, so it can't just put it in a category like, say for example, you know, you have, say you're at school, we'll use school again because it was like the example they gave to me, it's the easy example. Say you get like jumped or a mugging at school, or you get stabbed or something. I know it's horrible. Also, one of the most horrible things to happen to you is to get stabbed, in my opinion. But just imagine for a second that does happen for whatever reason. They can't put it in the school category because it doesn't feel like it's related to school, because your mind is just so confused and thinks it's so bizarre on what's going on, I think, and different stuff like that. It doesn't know what to do. So what it does when you go through something traumatic, it throws that memory or that event into something random, into like a random file cabinet or a random drawer or something like that. So then when you come back to remember it, or you experience flashbacks or trauma, your brain is frantically trying to find it, and it ends, and obviously this is only an analogy, obviously your brain can't really remember and find what happened, but it's almost like you can't find it, you don't know where you left it, and it's sending all these jumbled messages to your brain on how to feel, could you feel uncomfortable whenever you think about it, and different stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You know, whenever you hear it or see something about it, it brings you back almost like a flashback, and you end up getting sort of a weird feeling. And that was, when she said that to me, I was sort of thought, you know what? Yeah, like, I know what you mean now. I can completely like relate to that. You know, and I thought that was like, at that time is when I thought, yeah, you know what, this Camhs is right for me. Like, they actually, because I've been told by my art therapist before, like, I should, like, while I'm trying to find a job and different stuff like that, it's sort of like a part-time thing, I should almost try and be like a counsellor or something, which I haven't even thought of, because I think it's so interesting, and, you know, such almost like a rewarding job in a way. Like, you got to be able to listen, but you got to know that you've got the people skills to help people out, and you know, and so that's what the reason I'm saying it, because it has always been, well, now a lot more recently, a thing that I've even thought about myself, because, and especially after this traumatic event happened to me, I found myself, to people that even found me cringy or didn't really know me or didn't even really like me, I found myself talking to them, especially over message as well, like talking to them and being like, whenever I saw something that they put on Snapchat or whatever they said, I always found myself sort of trying to be supportive to them and be like, yo, I don't care what you think of me, I don't care any history that we've had, if you literally have nobody to talk to about whatever it is, I don't care how weird, how stupid it may sound, how cringy, how, I don't know, how gross, horrible, whatever, however many adjectives, and you know, any more adjectives, you know, like, I'll listen. Like I said, I might not give the best advice or whatever, and I may not know what to do, but I'll always listen, and I'll always give like 110% sort of thing, and to try and help or try and think of something. Yeah, and I found myself doing that a lot more, and you know, my therapist at the time said that means that, you know, something like counselling would be sort of great for you, because as horrible as it sounds, listening to other people's problems almost helps you out as well. Not in like a mean way, but it helps you cope with your own stuff. If you can say it to other people, sometimes you can verbally say it. It's the same with people who watch Jeremy Kyle. People only watch Jeremy Kyle if they're unhappy with their life, because it makes them think that their life is better than some other people's. I suppose you could apply that, even though it's not as harsh as that sort of thing. People don't just do it for benefit of themselves, but that is a perk of doing it, you know. And like I said earlier, I don't think I completely finished, but if you do know anyone that has any neurological problem or condition or whatever, if you're a parent of one, if you're a brother of one, if you're a friend of one, even though it takes a while depending on sort of the severity and whatever, honestly it would be worth the wait, in my opinion. Obviously there's no two of one people, you know, everyone could think the exact opposite of me, because no one thinks exactly the same about any one thing, but because, you know, personality differences and stuff like that. But I just think that, like, I would find it hard for somebody not to enjoy it. Fair enough if maybe, I don't know, you weren't 100% keen on your therapist maybe, you know, but like they're so open about that you could probably find a way of getting that changed. And they're so, like, I know I said to my therapist yesterday, when they asked me, like, she was like, oh, was that helpful? And I was like, yeah, because I've never physically seen it, you know, because she has so many different ways that she could portray a message to me or help out, or different stuff of word and things, that if it isn't helping at all, you know, they've heard, you think about it, it's their job, they've heard absolutely anything. You saying, I don't think this method is working, they'll change it, of course they will. And you know, if you're someone that's afraid to tell your mom things, or your friend things, or your parents things, or whatever, it's somewhere great, because you know that they're gonna know the answer and they make you feel completely normal. Like, you know, yesterday she said, like, everything that I'm feeling, everything that I think is completely normal. Like, there's nothing, like, if anyone, is it, like, there is something, I don't want to say wrong, because that's sort of like not like really a correct term, but we'll use it for now. But like, obviously there is something wrong with you, but you're normal as far as being wrong goes. Do you know what I mean? So like, if anybody else had gone through the same, say for example, life that I'd gone through, I'm not saying, oh, I've had a terrible life and stuff like that, because obviously I haven't. I'm not bragging. I'm not sort of like, I don't know, humble bragging that I've made it this far with such a terrible life. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, like, what the therapist said was, like, pretty much if anyone had been through the exact same stuff that you did, they'd be feeling the same way and they'd have the same emotions. So it's not abnormal. It's but it's also not. So it's not abnormal. You know, it's not right, but it's not abnormal, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So yeah. Alright, I'm gonna, like, I'm sorry if I started talking about something and then I never finished and I talked about something else. Please remind me if you see me, or just in the comments, because like I say, sometimes I forget about other things. Also, sorry if there's been any background noise. I can't change some of that stuff. Some stuff just happens. Like, I can hear a noise right now, but I don't want to be quiet, because then you'll be able to hear it and I have no idea what it is, and so I have to be quiet to hear it. So that's why I'm trying to talk as loud as well, to try and block out that sound. But yeah, so if I've missed anything that I was going to talk about that you thought was important, or you want me to talk about it more, or if there's any of the topics that you want me to talk about in next episode, whether it be mental health, maybe it's a problem that you've got yourself, if you want me to, you know, try and think as much as I can about that topic and talk about it, or just a generalised topic in general, maybe something more lighter if that's what you're into. But if you like sort of more deeper stuff, comment some deep stuff, you know. some ideas, and yeah, so that's that. I know on the Rocket League side of things, I do apologise, you know, I'm pretty sure 3 losses, I've gone down, I know, but at the end of the day, I'm not really too bothered. It's a video game, you know, whatever. I'd love, like I say, I'm not a massive fan of being low, and I do love when I start winning, but you know, this is another thing that they said to me at Camhs, that like, I don't know where am I trying to go with this, like, since I've been going to Camhs, I should say, not something they said to me at Camhs, but I've just realised that like video games is in my drive, sort of drive level. Like, video game drives me. It's been there since pretty much the day I was born. Video games couldn't have came around and peaked at the more perfect level for me. And I was talking to this about my nan, talking to this with my nan yesterday, like, and this is why I want like tattoos. I was saying this is why I want tattoos purely just on video games. Like, if I'm having any tattoos, they're on video games, pretty much. At least my first, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how many I have, but at the very, very, very least, my first tattoo is going to be a gaming tattoo. And like I said, I've got, I don't know if I've said this in a video before, but I have got 3 planned. So if I can get all of those done, they would definitely be the first. That I'm not going to have any other one in between or something like that, because I always want them to be a part of me, because they've done so. I know it sounds cringy or whatever, and people won't understand, and I don't really expect them to understand, but gaming has done so much for me. It's actually insane, and now I know I take it for granted, and I only play like online games like FIFA and Rocket League and Fortnite. But to be honest, they're not even games that I'd like. Fortnite maybe, but even then, like, even now, like, I've stopped watching it. Like Rocket League, I don't really watch Rocket League, and Fortnite I don't really watch. I mean, FIFA, I don't really watch people play FIFA that much. When I didn't in FIFA 18, I think I would more. I used to watch loads of FIFA, all sort of series, and I think I will when it comes out and stuff like that. But you know, just because I play these games doesn't mean this is it. This is all I'm bothered about. Like, I just love games in general, and like I said, they've done so much for me, and they've been there for me. You know, without even knowing how much. And like I say, it's cringy to a lot of people, but to me, it's not. Like, when I was growing up, and when I got my condition, and when I'd been told and different stuff like that, it honestly couldn't have come at a better time, because while my brother was, obviously he was a little bit younger as well, but obviously my brother, he wasn't interested in games until very, very recently. No one really around me was. Like, I look at my godson, who's almost 4, and he's not even doing half the stuff I was doing when he was his age. I mean, I'd completed my first ever video game at his age, my first few video games at his age, you know, and he's never even played on a console or anything yet. I understand that maybe games maybe aren't as easy, well, the majority, but you know, he still holds the PlayStation controller the wrong way when he pretends to play and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, you need someone to teach him. No one ever teached me about video games. And I think, like, obviously I use like a wheelchair and a wheelchair bound, but I was doing this, and people will be like, yeah, but you've had to been used to adapting stuff. But this was before I even knew about my condition. Like I said, like, the first game I ever played was like when I was 2 years old, I think, maybe 1 and a bit, but definitely at the most 2. And like I said, the first game I completed was at, I think, 2.5 or 3. So it like I said, I don't know, it was something that I just picked up, and I just knew since day one it was something that I was always going to love. I mean, I always used to say when I was like 6 and 7. And looking back at it now, I've sort of I haven't stuck to it to the extent I wanted to stick to it. My nan always said, like, you know, whenever she got, even though now in the long run she looks back and if she thinks about it, she knows how important gaming is to me. But you know, back when times that all I would care about were gaming and I'd spend too much time, you know, she would always say like, oh, you know, when you're older you're gonna have to stray away from gaming and you're gonna have to grow up and get into other things. I said, no, I'm not. Gaming's always going to be there. I'm never going to stop playing video games. And you know, when I was a kid, that was always what I wanted to do. I wanted to just be a video game tester. People have their games, they come to me, they're like, is this sufficient? Obviously, I never knew like the gaming industries and how they worked and how big they were back then or whatever. Or, well, back then they could have been a lot more different, but at the time, obviously, I didn't know anything about the gaming industry or anything it was like. And I still, like now, I'm sort of clueless on sort of stuff like that, and so I couldn't even tell you what it was like when I used to make these statements. But all I wanted to do was test video games. People who've made this game be like, okay, I made this game, test it out, what do you think? Is it suitable for me to release it as a mainstream game or something like that, you know? And that's all I wanted to be. But you know, I did think of video game making, but then even me at like the wee age of like 5 or 6 or whatever, I knew that like it'd be like a lot of code and a lot of like other technical stuff, and I knew that it wouldn't be as easy as like saying something I want it to be about this character. Like I could be like a, I don't know, all I'm saying is video games. You know, like I said, my brother was never interested in them, and because, you know, I could never do the more active stuff and have the other privileges, it was just always something that, I don't know, helped me out a lot, helped me get through, you know, bad times every time I thought about it. And that's why it's in like it's in my drive levels, to be honest, which is what they said at Camhs to me, that like the reason that my drive level isn't so small is because of video games. If I didn't have video games and I wasn't motivated by video games and I didn't love them so much, my drive levels would be really, really low, lower than my soothing levels, because my threat level is the highest, and then it goes my drive level, and then my soothing level. So she said if it wasn't for video games, like, you know, it would be much, much, much lower. So, yeah. So like I said, I know I haven't been great at the games and different stuff like that, but I do apologise. I do apologise. I haven't been the most on form with Rocket League and Fortnite, and hence why I did change my name to Jinx Gaming and different stuff like that. And like I say, in the future, I do hope to maybe play more games my sort of style, because I do think to myself sometimes, like, I'm just playing these really over competitive online games, which wasn't what I fell in love with gaming for. You know, I love long walkthrough story based driven games, or, you know, well, I love any sort of games, to be honest, but they're sort of like my main thing, or quest sort of games or different things like this, not these sort of multiplayer competitive games. Don't get me wrong, they're fun, but they're not what, you know, I don't mean to sound old here and like an old man, like, oh, back in my day, but I do remember, like, when I first started playing, when I was playing games like avidly day in day out, sort of around the age of 2, nearly 3, I'd say, you know, like what was online sort of thing. It was just sort of like a mere concept that I thought, like, oh, imagine making this 2-player but connecting with somebody completely random. I remember thinking, because if you've not seen my quick facts video, my favourite game of all time is a game on the PlayStation 2 called Gauntlet Dark Legacy, and it's the first game I ever completed as well, and it's like the main tattoo that I want to get. It's like the portal from that game, with all the rune stones around it. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. If you don't, it may go over your head a little bit. You know, and I remember because that's a 4-player sort of thing on the PlayStation 2, and I remember thinking, wow, imagine if you could just get someone, you could just be like, you could join, like have random people sort of join you on different missions, a bit like Warframe now sort of thing. You go into like a mission that you need to do and get other people that want to do that mission join you. Like I said, that was like a mere concept, and then the Xbox 360 came out, and sort of then, well, the Xbox, I don't see, I'm not very good on my history of the original Xbox. I don't know whether they did it first, so I couldn't quite say, but my first encounter was Xbox 360, and like I say, it was such a change. But yeah, so I know that got a little bit deep at the end, and just rambling on about video games after just talking about sort of mental health stuff, but as weird as it sounds, they do go hand in hand for me anyway. You know, they're both, you know, they're both important to me. This therapy thing is definitely important, and they, especially, you know, learning about my brain and different stuff like that, and actually hearing about the effects like video games have on my brain. And then obviously video games mean a lot to me because they've done a lot for me, I suppose. But that's where I'm gonna wind this episode of Speke Speaks down. I have been your host, Jinx Gaming. Let your voices, sorry, you can tell I'm a bit out of the loop. Let your voices be heard in the box down below, and thanks for watching. Peace. Bye bye for now.